One thing we plan to achieve, and I think it has been achieved, creating awareness around the world. There were over 50 country launches based on the principles, which is quite remarkable. A number of companies have taken it very seriously, and it's penetrating now more and more corporate mindsets. What we didn't plan for, which I think is as great, if not greater than everything I just mentioned, is the fact that it also helped to inspire other organizations. And the Global Child Forum is now using the principles as a foundation for engaging business, so I'm extremely delighted. We live in a new era of transparency where externalities now matter. They matter for moral reasons, but they also matter financially. The world has changed. We no longer can separate the public sector and the private sector in a very clean way. Increasingly, there are overlaps. The private sector has now a stake in public goods, such as the air, education. They need skilled people and so forth. So there's a business stake in public policy making, and that is more pronounced today than ever before. Secondly, transparency. Transparency, like technological change, is irreversible. It shines a light on almost everything people do and organizations do. For corporates, it makes sense to be proactive on external, environmental, social, human rights, children's issues, because failure to do so means actually accepting enormous risks. Usually corporates understand once they're in a crisis situation, when they hit the wall, but luckily there are forward-looking, values-based corporations who understand this intuitively. We need multiple approaches at the same time. I think we owe much thanks to the civil society community worldwide for raising important issues, human rights, transparency, environmental issues, and so forth. So that is one force that I think we continue to need. Second one is we also see now for the first time in modern history the empirical evidence that good social performance actually pays off. I work now for Arabesque, which means beauty based on geometry and math, and we can bring the evidence now that companies which are superior on material, environmental, social governance performance outperform companies financially which are not. And this is very significant. It has to do with a change in valuation, how people's mindsets now different evaluate performance, consumers, how they choose what they choose, people, how they feel motivated to work for which company, productivity within organizations, whether it's a purpose-driven organization or just a short-term oriented profit maximization shareholder above all. Still, the majority of companies are still sitting on a fence. So bringing the empirical evidence, the economic evidence that responsible behavior pays, I think is the most powerful. And this is where investors are coming in now, and investors increasingly will shine a light on that. So I'm actually quite confident that many of those fence sitters who still live by the dogma of shareholder value only will soon come down. One can be very pessimistic these days at the political front. Many things are going in the wrong direction, but certain things are giving encouragement. There are three forces at play that suggest strongly that sustainability has only just started, that we are speaking now of a global movement, old and young people, corporates, investors, regulators, professional organizations, that are embracing the idea of a future-oriented, more responsible, sustainable practice. And it's driven by basically three basic trends which play out in many countries. One is transparency. It's irreversible, here to stay. So for all the good reasons, it makes just sense. Secondly, public-private relationships are changing. Thirdly, people's mindsets are connecting the dots increasingly. consumers, educators. The groundswell of a critical mass has been crossed. It's not just 10 companies that are moving in this direction, it's now 10,000. So I think we are irreversibly on this pathway where markets increasingly have to demonstrate purpose, and purpose also means being responsible. And responsibility in the human rights domain, above all, means responsibility for children and the future. And this is where the Global Child Forum plays such a critical and catalytic role.